Steffi Hayes awoke before dawn, trembling in the dim light of her Los Angeles estate, the hollow ache in her chest a relentless reminder of the day before when Ridge's private jet had gone down in the Mojave Desert and everything they had built together, marriage, trust, shared dreams, had been reduced to wreckage. She pressed a trembling hand to her temple, recalling the frantic rush of paramedics, the sterile chill of the hospital corridor, the moment Brooke Logan's eyes had fluttered open only to confess Ridge's last words as he held her in those final seconds. Despite her own grief, Steffi had thrown herself into comforting her sister, ironing Brooke's hospital gown, brushing a stray lock of hair from her fevered brow, wishing she could pull Ridge back from the brink of death. But the next blow came without warning. In the pale gray morning light, she found on her doorstep a sealed envelope bearing a Los Angeles County Superior Court stamp. Inside, a summons that seemed almost too cruelly ironic. Her former husband Liam Spencer was suing for full legal and physical custody of their daughter, Kelly, alleging that in the wake of Ridge's accident and Brooke's precarious condition, Steffi was suffering so profound a psychological breakdown that she could not provide the stable environment a child needed, especially one so vulnerable to threats from Sheila Carter and the endless vendettas that came with bearing the Forrester name. Steffi's vision blurred with tears as she read Liam's allegations, that she was so consumed by grief and rage that she had erupted in a fury in front of Kelly, screaming obscenities, smashing picture frames, and threatening to expose family secrets that would endanger everyone around her. The next hours passed in a daze of phone calls to attorneys, frantic searches for nannies, and desperate pleas to Ridge's legal team for support, but everyone seemed paralyzed by the shock of Ridge's presumed death. By the time Steffi arrived at the courthouse, her makeup was streaked, her designer suit ill-fitting over the ribs she'd barely been able to eat, and her lawyer's assurances that the judge would see through Liam's opportunistic ploy rang hollow in her ears. Inside the courtroom, the tension was electric. Reporters jostled for position, their cameras aimed for a close-up of Steffi's tear-streaked face, while Liam sat across from her, immaculate as always in a charcoal suit, face composed but eyes cold with determination. He did not rise when the judge entered. Instead, he watched Steffi with the clinical detachment of a surgeon about to make the first incision. The bailiff called the case, and Liam's attorneys stood to present their motion. Video evidence, a clip recorded by one of Liam's private investigators during a visit to Steffi's home, showing Steffi unleashing a torrent of profanity and vehemence in front of Kelly, who appeared wide-eyed and petrified. The footage, played on a large screen in the gallery, captured Steffi screaming, "You will never take her from me," as she hurled a framed photo of Liam and Kelly against the wall, glass shattering. Kelly's small figure pressed against the corner of the living room, trembling, while Steffi's face contorted in anguish and rage. A collective gasp thundered through the courtroom. Steffi froze, her heart hammering so fiercely she feared it would burst. She saw Thomas Forrester in the front row, her brother-in-law turned reluctant confidant, grimacing, as though the betrayal of her own raw emotion cut him deeper than any blade. The judge leaned forward, eyebrows arched. "Ms. Hayes," he said, voice grave, "your behavior in this video raises significant concerns. Mr. Spencer's request for full custody is supported by evidence suggesting a dangerous environment for your child." Steffi's lawyer rose, arguing that the video was selectively edited, that Steffi had been under extreme duress after Ridge's accident, that no prior incidents of violence or irrational conduct existed in her parenting record. Yet the judge's expression remained skeptical, and the gallery's murmurs grew louder. As the hearing recessed for deliberation, Liam approached Steffi's table, silent, his cool presence a blade at her back. He leaned in, voice low, "You might have had my sympathy after Ridge's crash. You've lost it now, Steffi. Hands off my child." He strode away before she could respond, leaving her shaking. As she fled down the courthouse steps, paparazzi lenses flashing like thunderbolts, she spotted Thomas waiting by his parked car. He met her gaze, eyes haunted yet resolute. "You okay?" he asked, voice gentle. She swallowed, fighting tears. I don't know. He's trying to take Kelly away, using my grief against me." Thomas's jaw clenched. "We need to flip the script. You can't win this alone." Steffi stared at him incredulously. The man whose relationship with Hope had unraveled spectacularly, now offering to help her save her daughter. "Why would you do that?" she whispered. "Because I owe you one," he replied, pulling out his phone. "And because if Liam gets full custody, Brooke and Ridge's child, and all of us, will be at his mercy. We need a witness who can attest to your stability. Someone authoritative. Caroline's already on our side. Bill's digging up records to discredit that video. But we need more. We need to show you're not a danger to Kelly." In the days that followed, Steffi and Thomas forged a fragile alliance. They consulted renowned child psychologists, arranged supervised visits to demonstrate her parental fitness, and scoured the Spencer estate's files to expose Liam's own history of impulsive behavior and unresolved trauma from his father's death. Through Thomas's connections, they obtained affidavits from neighbors, nannies, and even Sheila Carter's own parole officer, each testifying that Steffi had provided a nurturing environment for Kelly and that threats from Sheila were taken seriously, with restraining orders already in place. Thomas presented evidence that Liam had once left Kelly unattended in a park for 30 minutes, a minor incident he'd buried to preserve his image, but potent ammunition in court. As the new court date approached, the courtroom once again buzzed with anticipation. This time, Steffi entered with her head held higher, dressed in a tailored white blouse symbolizing her intent to start anew. Thomas sat beside her, supportive yet vigilant, as they prepared to confront Liam's team. But the ultimate twist, the Don Gio they had saved, came at the climax of the hearing. Just as the judge prepared to hear final arguments, Steffi's lawyer requested permission to play a previously undisclosed recording. The screen flickered to life with footage from the morning after Ridge's crash, Steffi, calm yet resolute, singing softly to Kelly while cradling her in the sunrise glow of their balcony, arranging breakfast, helping Kelly get ready for school, laughing with her daughter as they traced flowers in the garden. The judge's stern countenance softened. Then Thomas himself took the stand, offering a concise testimony about the perils of editing video out of context and revealing how Liam's investigators had deliberately provoked Steffi by unleashing Sheila's latest threats during their so-called home check, pushing her into an emotional outburst they had eagerly recorded. Finally, Steffi delivered her own statement, her voice unwavering. "I grieve for someone I loved deeply. I have felt rage, pain, confusion. But every tear, every heartbeat is driven by love for my daughter. I would never harm her. I stand before you not as a perfect mother, but as a devoted one, willing to fight for Kelly's safety and happiness even when it means exposing my own vulnerabilities." Silence reigned as the judge reviewed the evidence. Liam's face, once smug, now showed unease. Caroline's eyes glittered with relief. Bill's smile was triumphant. After what felt like an eternity, the judge ruled. Full custody would remain with Steffi, with Liam granted generous visitation rights under structured supervision, an outcome that balanced Kelly's need for stability with her father's desire to remain in her life. As the gavel fell, Steffi exhaled a shuddering breath, tears of relief mingling with exhaustion. She turned to Thomas, gratitude and astonishment warring on her face. He offered a small, rueful smile. "We make a good team," he said quietly. Outside the courthouse, photographers clamored for statements, but Steffi raised a hand to her lips, pressing it against Kelly's cheek as her daughter waved shyly. Liam lingered in the background, his jaw clenched, eyes burning with a jealous fire that hinted at future battles. Yet in that moment, Steffi felt a fierce, unshakable love for her child and a renewed sense of purpose. She had weathered grief, defamation, and courtroom drama, and emerged stronger, a mother defending her child against every threat, be it familial or legal. And though her alliance with Thomas was born of necessity and laced with uncertainty, it had taught her that sometimes the strongest support came from the most unexpected sources. As mother and daughter walked into the sunlit afternoon, Steffi knew that whatever storms lay ahead, whether driven by Sheila's vengeance, Liam's resentments, or the endless rivalries of the Forrester dynasty, she would face them with a steely resolve tempered by compassion, ready to protect Kelly with everything she had. The afternoon sun warmed Steffi's face as she guided Kelly's small hand down the courthouse steps, each footfall echoing the hard-won victory that had secured her daughter's future, yet there was no triumph without cost. Behind them, Thomas lingered, his posture guarded, eyes tracing Steffi's retreating form with a mixture of protective pride and the haunted knowledge that their uneasy alliance had only just begun. As they reached the black SUV waiting curbside, Steffi lifted Kelly into her arms, feeling the steady beating of her daughter's heart against her own. "Mommy, can we go home now?" Kelly asked in a voice still trembling with the remnants of courtroom terror. Steffi pressed a kiss to Kelly's forehead. "Of course, sweetheart. Home, and then a big ice cream sundae, okay?" Kelly nodded, her tears replaced by a shy smile, and Steffi knew that even in the shadow of Ridge's death and Liam's legal onslaught, this simple promise, ice cream and safety, was the truest testament to a mother's love. Once inside the quiet of her estate, Steffi settled Kelly onto the sofa with a bowl of chocolate and whipped cream while she locked the front door behind Thomas, whose dark gaze swept the polished foyer as if searching for lurking threats. "Liam won't stop," Thomas murmured, shedding his tailored jacket and draping it over the banister. "He'll appeal, he'll smuggle more footage, he'll use anything to weaken you." Steffi's jaw hardened. "Let him try. I've shown the court I'm not a threat to Kelly. And if he digs deeper, we'll expose his hypocrisy. He's not perfect either." Thomas gave a small, rueful smile that didn't reach his eyes. "I know. I've been digging. Remember that time he left Kelly at the park? Or when he vanished for days during his father's funeral tour, leaving Caroline in tears?" He shook his head. "We'll use it all, but carefully. Public sympathy is fragile." Steffi studied him, sensing both his determination and the risk she'd taken in trusting him. "Thank you, Thomas. I know this alliance is complicated." He offered a lopsided grin. "In our family, nothing simple ever lasts more than a day. But right now, we need each other." He paused, then added quietly, "And I owe you for standing by me when everyone else walked away." Steffi's heart stung at the memory of their past, his engagement to Hope, the betrayal, the heartbreak, but she nodded. "Let's focus on Kelly now. Then we'll decide what comes next." Evening fell as Steffi tucked Kelly into bed, brushing soft strands of hair from her daughter's forehead and humming a lullaby her own mother had sung. Outside Kelly's door, Thomas met Steffi's gaze. "She's going to be okay," he said. Steffi swallowed back the flood of exhaustion and relief. "She is, thanks to you." They shared a quiet moment of solidarity, two people bound by a shared purpose that neither had anticipated. But as Steffi turned to leave, her phone buzzed with a message from Liam. "Enjoy tonight. Tomorrow, it starts again." Her stomach nodded. She showed Thomas the text. He frowned, thumb hovering over his phone. "He's rattled. He's trying to provoke you." Steffi squared her shoulders. "Then let him rattle. I'm not going back to that dark place." Yet beneath her bravado lurked a flicker of fear. If Liam unleashed Sheila's name again, if evidence of the Sheila threat resurfaced, Kelly would be at risk, and Steffi's victory could unravel in an instant. Over the next days, Steffi and Thomas worked in tandem, she with her lawyers and child psychologists, he reaching out to allies in the media and legal community to discredit Liam's next motions even before they were filed. Together they orchestrated a press conference in the Forrester garden. Thomas by her side as she spoke of love, loss, and the fierce devotion of a mother's heart. Cameras flashed as she addressed the public. "I am Steffy Forrester Hayes, and I will always protect my daughter with every fiber of my being. If anyone thinks otherwise, let them look into her eyes and see the love that guides us." Liam's team, unable to counter the sincerity in her voice and the presence of respected experts at her side, found their next custody appeal dismissed for lack of new, credible evidence. As the courtroom doors closed on their conflict, for now, Steffy stood on solid ground for the first time in months. Yet the battle had changed her, where once her identity had been entwined with Ridge's legacy and her own warrior spirit, now it was firmly anchored in her role as Kelly's protector. And even as she celebrated her legal victory, she felt a shadow at the edge of her triumph. Sheila Carter's name, whispered warnings of vengeance, and the knowledge that in their world, peace was always temporary. Late one night, Steffy awoke to the jangle of her phone. A text from an unknown number displayed a single photograph: Kelly asleep on the sofa during an early morning TV interview, vulnerable and unguarded. The caption read, "She's always watching." Steffy's breath caught, her heart racing. She recognized the watermark of a hacker linked to Sheila's network. Panic surged through her veins. She grabbed her keys and dialed Thomas's number. His groggy voice answered immediately. "Steffy? They've found Kelly's image," she panted. "We're not safe." Thomas was instantly alert. "Stay put. I'll be there in 5 minutes. Lock all doors." He hung up. Steffy bolted upright, adrenaline sharpening every sense. Outside, the silent estate seemed suddenly rife with menace. She hurried to Kelly's room, checking the lock, the window latches, then dialing her security line. As she waited for a guard to confirm patrols, she realized that her victory was only the beginning. In the war for her daughter's safety, the enemy was relentless, the threats constant, and the price of failure unthinkable. Yet beneath the terror, a fierce resolve flared. She would stand as a shield between Kelly and every storm. No matter how dark, no matter how personal, no matter who wielded the blade. And so, as dawn's first light touched the estate's walls, Steffy prepared for the next battle, her identity reborn not as Ridge's partner or Liam's ex-wife, but as the unbreakable mother who would sacrifice everything for her child, and who had an unexpected ally in Thomas Forrester, a man whose own loyalties had been tested and who now stood ready to fight by her side in the greatest war of all.